Dave, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, we as when we presented with the Art and Historical Society, we hadn't brought the materials back from Wales.
That's right.
So we were successful. Rather than rent a truck, which would have been like $250, we wanted to have Tim Wolfhuber be part of both the loading on the equipment, and then when we got to Cordelia's farm, we wanted to have him there. So when we unloaded it and put it in the storage area, he wouldn't have to then take everything out of the storage area and to reassemble it. And all he's going to do is reassemble the materials. He's not going to put the sheathing on or nail anything on. He's going to assemble the frames because they weren't quite ready. He had never really assembled everything. He thinks they're almost done. There might be a few new members, but they're almost ready. And he just wants, before we move it to its permanent location, he wants to make sure everything fits together. So he's going to be doing that out in at Cordelia's and back of the Village Power Place in the upcoming months. As soon as the weather breaks, he can start doing some of that. He'll need some helpers, but that'll be on a as-needed basis, and we'll get a couple of people that can help him, and that should work out. And I would say by midsummer, it might be ready to be moved to a permanent location. The other thing that I included in the handouts for this talk and with the Art and Historical Society was the call to meeting. So we had a call to meeting after the December meeting that we had at 19 Carter. And the call to meeting was with the volunteers that had volunteered to be on the committee. And also we listed advisors on the second page of that call to meeting who would be available to us for consultation. We wanted to put together a team so that everyone would feel part of this. We really can't do it by ourselves. We're trying to build a kind of a consensus on moving forward and even further to the community. So that was that call to meeting. The second thing was the letter of agreement with Squaw Hollow Restoration. It's a one-page document. It's not a contract. It's a letter of agreement between the building committee and Tim Wolfhuber, just outlining the kind of a sketch of what we expect from him and what he expects from us. It's more than a handshake, but not much more than a handshake. I mean, there's no, and the dates are, the schedule is flexible because we think we're going to have to get the town involved because it's town, it could be on town property. So some of us have spoken with, on the committee, have spoken with Margaret, the town administrator, about the process and the procedure. The first thing we did was we showed her the bylaws of the Art and Historical Society, and she was surprised to see that, oh, there's some things on the bylaws where the commissioners are supposed to participate. And she said that's a town body, and she didn't know about it. And we explained it to her, and we've also sent her some working documents that we've put together saying, here's what we see as how this could happen. And by the way, I did have talked to Mary Porter about transferring the property by gift or purchase, and she says it's not a big problem. It could be done with something like a purchase and sale, or it could be just a simple deed that says here's the building and here's the uses of the building that the Art and Historical Society would like to see it be kept for, and nothing more than that. So. But that's still, we would kind of like to proceed with that, but until we get something, I think, from the town in writing, that we really need something to move forward, because it can't be just hearsay. It's got to be, you know, in writing, and a vote, probably a vote by the Historical Commission or something like that. So that was the agreement letter, and I'll just go into a bit of the background where we are as a committee. Is sort of, this is for discussion. We haven't decided anything. We can't make the decision, matter of fact, but we would like to have some decisions made so that when we're moving forward, we don't have to then back up and go in another direction. We kind of need everyone together on this. I don't know how else to say it, but we need some consensus and some cooperation. And so that part of it is of what I'm doing tonight, and what the committee would like to see is we're kind of forming a team on the committee that's actually, I mean, the volunteerism on that Saturday was amazing. You know, we had coffee and stuff. We had a good time, but we also got a lot done. I could see why it would have taken a long time to assemble the volunteers, to get down there, work with Tim and all the logistics of it. But it really worked out pretty well. And everyone had a good feeling after it was done. It was like a milestone, you know, and so that's how we like to proceed. We have a series of things like that where we can move forward. And so we started really with two documents: the bylaws of the Art and Historical Society and how they relate to the building and our work. And then the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8D, which is the enabling legislation for historical commissions. And the two documents actually dovetail pretty well. They were the bylaws were last amended in 2007. And there's some tweaking probably that should be done, not much. But what we'd like to see is if there's some tweaking that the Art and Historical Society has to do to their bylaws, that then a vote by the Historical Commission, because under the Historical Commission enabling legislation is to cooperate. There's a cooperation. The Historical Commission should cooperate with organizations that are also in that process, especially in town. So we would like to see something like that. Coordinate is the word that's in the law, and just some coordination. And that's where we are. We're trying to coordinate these two entities, if you will, that have been separate, and at least the town administrator didn't know about it. And I think a lot of people really don't know. And we'd rather show a combined effort. Because if it's segmented and if it's separated and everyone's not in the same working on the same path, it's going to be sort of perceived as, you know, ineffective and so forth. And we would, as a committee, we would like to move forward with some marching orders or kind of define it a little bit. It's not. We could continue to do it just by, you know, by road, or if somebody wants to do this, somebody wants to do that. We'd rather have some sort of a plan for it before we went too far in volunteering our efforts and then having to backtrack, if you know what I mean. So that's, there is, if it is put on town property, there is in that same Chapter 40, Section 27C, which is about archaeological digs. So if, for instance, it was go in the burying ground and there was a backhoe involved, there'd have to be some sort of a person watching this who has archaeological background, because we know they may find something in the burying ground, and so that has to come from the Historical Commission. That's in the state law. The Art and Historical Society couldn't do that or shouldn't do that. And so that's one of the things where the two entities have to combine. The agreements, there can be signed agreements, and that was what Mary Porter was thinking about, was some sort of an agreement between the two organizations. We're going to transfer this property. Right now it's personal property. It probably become real property or real estate when it's on a permanent foundation, but it is now, and we're planning to transfer it before we move it on the foundation, because the town administrator thinks that there'd be some liability if we put private building on public land or started digging for a foundation, which is simply 6 granite piers, but there still has to be some digging done to get them set. And Tim, in the letter of agreement, Tim will approve that before the building's moved. And so he'll give us some designs, and we're more than happy to work with him on that and get it done. The Historical Commission also is related to the Historical Building Committee, or Hirsch House Building Committee, in a couple of ways. One is that the Hirsch House may be a gift or purchased by the town, and most of the time, I've done a little bit of research, not a lot, but when things are transferred to the town, rather than transfer everything to the Board of Selectmen, it goes to the committee that's involved with it. So conservation land, for instance, gets transferred to the town through the Conservation Commission, so that they're a party to it. It just doesn't go directly to the Board of Selectmen. And we would like to have it go through the Building Committee, would like to have it go through the Historical Commission, so that the Historical Commission votes at a meeting, say, we're going to accept this building. And in that way, if there's ever a question about insurance or something, where the town pursues this insurance, they have this vote by the town Historical Commission that they're accepting the building. So that's a little bit about the general laws. And you can see in yellow, I've highlighted some other things, but those are the ones I wanted to cover in this brief outline. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the working file that we made on the bylaws of the Art and Historical Society. I won't cover everything. You can see they're highlighted there, but in section 2, Article 4, section 2 says the Historical Commission must be represented on the board of the Art and Historical Society by 2 or more members. So I believe that's the case now, but it just is three members. So it just we're looking at how the 2 organizations are tied to one another. Again, Margaret didn't know about this, but it's a requirement in the bylaws, but there's nothing that says the Historical Commission has to do this. So it could be as simple as a vote at a Historical Commission meeting. And maybe there was one many years ago, but the other next one will be Article 5, Section 4, that the custodian is confirmed by the vote of the Historical Commission and to hold property in perpetuity, which I mean forever. But that confirmation, I guess, was made many years ago in the some members of the Historical Commission doesn't know.
It was made this year.
It was made this year.
Again?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I did. So it's in the minutes?
Yes. When we organized the Historical Commission this year, the custodian, that was included in that.
And a vote was taken. So, yeah. Okay. And let's see, the last thing in that working file was, as we see it there, Hearst House Building Committee is providing space for safekeeping and display. That's the last statement on that on the bylaws. So safekeeping and display. It's not just display. We are as a Hearst House committee, we're focusing on display, but it also says safekeeping. And so the volunteers we have are excited about the Hearst House becoming a display rather than a storage building. to be honest with you. So if it's going to be located, somewhere where somebody has to store lawnmowers or whatever, or whatever they have to store, it's an expensive storage building, we're saying, and it's 1805. It's a historical place, so it should be open to the public. And the last thing, I guess, to conclude before we have a discussion is there a plan for the historical properties? Because we're saying, when we started talking about not having it at the burying ground, instead someplace where it was available to the public, maybe where it was originally located, on the town or the town triangle there on Woodward Avenue, maybe that would be a better place. We don't know, but has somebody talked about what's this going to be like? Let's say we did open it up for visitors or for exhibit. Is it going to be coordinated with anything else? Is there any written plan, or has somebody thought about this? And we're happy to put it wherever people want it, but it's got to be done in an orderly fashion. It can't be just, oh, let's put it back where it was, because to be honest, it's a difficult. If it is going to be a museum, it's a difficult place for that. But maybe there should be a concerted effort to think about what that's going to look like, and maybe the planning board or the Community Preservation Act people. There's a whole bevy of people who might have thoughts about this. We just want to make sure that we're not, spending a lot of time and a lot of money to put this in a place where it's not going to be the best place for it. So that's, again, we're in the discussion phase. It's not costing us anything right now to do something except our time and efforts. But we would like to see a broad support for this rather than having a contentious situation and having it agreed upon, I think at a public meeting like the Historical Commission, and voted on, this is where it's going to be, kind of a thing. And we're more than happy with that. But we want to make sure there's enough voices in the room that this is what, as a town, we should be doing. So that's the end of that's where we are right now. And we're kind of looking for some, as I mentioned to Rebecca, some marching orders, some written marching orders. We don't want hearsay, say, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? We need something from, I think, the Historical Commission, with the support of the selectmen and the planning board or whoever else, whatever they feel comfortable with, to moving forward, so that we can, we have some work to do as far as this agreement, what that's going to look like. What are some of the hurdles that we're going to have to face as far as the foundation goes? Who's going to pay for the foundation on public land? I don't think it should be. I don't think, but maybe, what do I know? I don't think it should be the Art and Historical Society. I think if it's going to be on town land, that the town should provide the foundation at minimum. But that's just me thinking, and the town would then have to buy into the location. It wouldn't be, and if we went for zoning variances or whatever we need to do, or the archaeological dig, we'd have support from everyone rather than just, the Hearst House Building Committee. So we're looking to build consensus here too. So that's where we are.
I mean, this has been the Historical Society's project right along. The Cemetery Commission has voted to reaffirm the site as acceptable to the Cemetery Commission, at least the previous site, so that it and there's a few reasons why that's the best location from the Cemetery Commission's viewpoint. The other thing is that the Cemetery Commission has, in the past, though we could confirm that currently, not wanted to use it for cemetery purposes. We've got, the cemetery commission has equipment sheds in the other two cemeteries, and we customarily move mowers and things to the burying ground when we need to work there, and then move them back. We really don't need to keep something there on a permanent basis in terms of, mowers and stuff. Now, as far as the establishing a program for the building, we've never done that because we've never had the building to the point where it was ready to be used. And if it's going to be ready to be used, then we can certainly, the Historical Society can work on a plan for that, and the custodial committee that customarily works on exhibits and things, and can spend some time talking to you about it, to your committee about it, and maybe the society as a whole, and the commission certainly, can enter into that discussion if it wants to. It's a small building. It's not going to be heated. That means that what you use it for is somewhat determined by that. In warm weather, you could have quite a lot of different things in it for a time. You also have to have it. We also have to work on secure locks and things if you're going to have artifacts in it. But in the cold season, you're really quite limited as to what you can use it for, and particularly what you can store in it, because you want most artifacts you want to have in an environment that's not completely out of control on temperature. And the other thing, of course, it's not a building that we're ever going to be able to control humidity in. So it's going to go according to what outdoor air is as far as humidity is concerned. But we certainly can discuss some of those things. There's always been the hope that we would have be able to use it for some kind of exhibits in warm weather sometimes that would lend themselves to it. You could do an exhibit of agricultural things in it, as well as other matters that relate. I mean, you could certainly do things in regard to gravestones and that kind of thing. There's a variety of other possibilities. And of course, there's always been in the background the thought, oh boy, maybe we can even get a hearse that can be horse-drawn. But that was a dream that is kind of out there if we get to the point where somebody gets excited about it and wants to work on it.
Yes.
I don't know.
Anyone else?
Is that helpful to you at all?
Yeah, I guess the Hearst House committee would like to see that. We have some time here. We'd like to see something come of that. And on paper or in some fashion that we can point to and build some community support for it, because we don't mind doing it. It's just having the support from the community. It's so important that because without that, it doesn't ring. It doesn't ring as a I don't know, public service or whatever you want to call it. It separates let's say the historical people from the rest of the town. We'd rather incorporate people together. I don't know how to say it, but it's a treasure for the whole community, not just a few of us. And to some extent, getting that message out to the broader community, that's what we need right now. We don't need, staying in with COVID and everything. People are ready to branch out, I think, and I think it's a good time to. I mean, you could just from the volunteers we had on that Saturday, it can be done, and I think people, having some ideas about what you were just saying. A hearse out, having a hearse, and what would that look like, and putting it in kind of doesn't have to be, expensive or anything. It just be something that is here. Here's the plan. But without the plan, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you if, and Barry, all of you might have some answers to this. Has there been some research that anybody has done here about, where horse houses were normally located, and other miscellaneous questions that might help with some of those decisions as well?
Yeah, we've done some research on other hearse houses in New England and what they're being used for. So a lot of them are displays, and they are seasonal displays. Most of them are back in the original location near the burying ground or near the church where the funerals took place. Sometimes the horse sheds where the hearse was kept, they would be or in that location, because that's where the funerals would, the church would be part of that. There were no funeral parlors per se, but the town would take care of that, and often on town property, and often located near the common. And there are some good displays around New England where they have a hearse, and in some cases they do have a hearse and they use it as a horse-drawn feature, either in town for town parades, or they rent it out for in-town funerals. So different uses.
The hearse, we do have material on some other hearse houses that we collected back when we first acquired it, and traveled around and found several more. And we can share some of that with you also, if some of that would be helpful to you. I think that I didn't see much that indicated an active program with them, but I think we could do an active program with it. And as I say, the agricultural things, we've got a variety of things that are agriculturally related and also workshop related. They've got that nice shingle splitting bench and something like that, and the shoe bench. I mean, some of those things could be an exhibit. You could do shoes one year and some other farm things another year, and so on. You could have different exhibits in it each year, and have it in the burying ground. I mean, have it so you can be open to the public at times with it, and so on, and also by appointment.
I was thinking about how this cluster of historical buildings on the common, in the common area, with the Bullard House being added to it, and the church, and the community center and all that. And the hearse house would really add a lot to that. So it may be like if you wanted to bring your class up to look at some of the historical buildings, you could make a whole afternoon of it, and you could walk from the school. I mean, it's very cool. It seems like it could be in either site, either like next to the church or in the burying ground, and still make it quite accessible, let's say, to the teachers and the school kids, which is kind of a neat thought too. So that doesn't help with the decision about where to put it, but it means that it's nice that it's going to become part of that same cluster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be. Could be an attractive place with the Bullard House open, and the hearse house and the 1870 town hall. It could be a farm days or a historic days or some sort of a fair that would attract people from outside of town to come and share the event. Sort of a multi-town thing. So there's a lot of possibilities there.
I'm not sure quite. I was thinking about the fact that we don't have our fearless leader with us, and so I mean, I could talk about the hearse houses for a long time, but I didn't know whether we wanted to move on to something that is somewhat connected that is on here, or if you want to, make some conclusions for us, Dave, or.
No, I think having just started the discussion is good. We're going to have a committee meeting in a couple of weeks, and we'll sit around the screen. Or would like to meet personally or start meeting personally in a couple of weeks. And we'll sit around the table and talk about this, what we did tonight. And Rebecca keeps a great note. Rebecca is the heart of our committee. She is amazing. But there are other talents as well. So we've got a pretty good group. And we'll kind of move to the next step, I think might be to submit some loose ends here, maybe make a list of what's needed to be done moving forward. And then coming back to another historical commission meeting and another society meeting, say, here's what we're thinking about, here's like a time frame, and also these things have to be done. And then different entities would have to be part of that. So I guess I'd like to take what we've discussed here. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Any thoughts?
I just want to thank you, David, for your efforts. Really appreciate it. And I'm glad we got the components back here in town after being out for about 8 years. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dave.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to say anything? Well, I don't know if that's it. So, but if you,
It's great to see the enthusiasm from you and from others on the committee. That's a wonderful plus, and it will help to get us all moving on the project and behind it again.
okay, sounds good. Thank you for letting me make the presentation.
Thank you. And when we've worked on some of this some more, and perhaps the commission will discuss it too, when we're ready to, and we need to take an action, we'll entertain it.
One of the things on here that I could do really, really fast if we want to just sort of each jump in with one of these that they could, unless somebody wants to volunteer to chair this. I don't.
To what?
To chair the rest of this meeting because we don't have our chairman. But otherwise I can just jump in with something I can do really quickly here, and then other people can
Okay.
randomly.
Thanks,
jump in.
thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Thank
Dave. Say hi to
Yep.
Jonathan.
Okay.
How do I move him? Okay. He's
Oh,
gonna.
that's the other
All right.
phone. Excuse me just a minute. It might be June.
All right. So, yes, it may be June. Oh, I've got June up. I've got June on here suddenly.
Oh, you do? You have June on the screen?
Yeah, June has popped in. So, and
Oh,
I've
good.
already sent her
Okay.
a request. So hopefully she's going to pop on. There she is.
There she is. Good. Is that June?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hello? Hi, June. What's up? You can't hear us or anything?
Oh,
I can put it. Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah. I can put you on speaker. All right. I'm going to put you on my speaker phone. Okay. Very good. Hello.
hello.
Can you hear her?
Can you start?
Barely. Can she unmute herself?
Say,
Yep, hold on. Shoot.
just, can you just talk now? Because I think they can hear you. You just weren't speaking at that time. We have a delay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Now we can hear
Barry?
you.
you're
Now
on the screen. You're on the TV.
Yep.
Okay.
If you push your camera thing, you should be able to get on.
I know. So we can see this
you.
has happened once before, and Eric helped me out. My camera is not working,
Oh, okay.
but at least you can
We
hear
can
my
hear
wonderful
you.
voice.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
We finished Dave's presentation and talked about that. I don't know if you caught any of it.
Yes, I
but-
did. I heard most of it. I
Okay.
just,
I didn't realize you
Okay,
were up
so-
on there for a while.
yeah. Well, I wasn't sure that, well, it doesn't matter. We
So
have
June,
prior minutes.
Go.
We have prior minutes to approve.
Mhm.
Do you want to approve them one at a time, February 9th?
Oh, God. I don't know which one I wrote. Oh, gosh, I read one of them today, and now I don't know if I read the other one. Yeah, I
Has
think I read,
anybody else? Can we have a motion to approve February 9th, or do you want to just wait until the next meeting?
I moved to approve them.
I don't mind, but if somebody does have something they want to talk about, we could wait.
Oh, yeah.
I've read them both.
Okay.
We
We've read
read
them
them both, so whatever
We're good.
whatever the chairman wants to do, that's fine with us.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve the February 9th minutes?
I moved to
So moved.
approve them.
Second,
Second,
all those in favor, Barry,
All right,
Elaine? Elaine?
Aye.
And Carl?
aye,
And Janet?
Aye.
And
Julie, I
June?
asked-
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carl, did you second that? I can't remember who seconded it.
yes, I did.
Yes, Carl did. Okay.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the February 16th minutes?
So moved.
Okay, and
second,
a second? All
Barry.
Okay, take a roll call vote. Barry
Aye,
and Elaine
Aye.
and Carl
Aye,
and Janet
Aye.
and June, aye. So unanimously approved. The next little item is the 5-minute break, and I'd like us to just agree that if we have a lot of trouble trying to come to a consensus, that we just take a 5-minute break and go back into the meeting. We had a little problem last time, and I would like to avoid that for future meetings. Is there any discussion or any objection to having a 5-minute break if we need it?
no,
no problem
Fine
here.
with me. Fine with me.
Okay. All right, it might help. So we did have Dave already, and not quite sure what the outcome of that was, except he seemed to frame all the comments and the feedback from Barry as a discussion. Is there anything substantive that we have to do based on the discussion that we had with Dave this evening?
I
think
would
he
say
mentioned-
not yet.
Not yet. There were a couple of things he mentioned, and
Not
June, I
yet.
have these in the notes too, that that he wants to share the responsibility with us and with the community in general, but that was sort of the gist of it. Sharing, getting as many people
Okay.
involved as possible.
Okay, all right, good. We have received, going on to the Bullard House, we've received the Tim's supplemental report, and June Poland has asked us to get back to her about payment for that. Does anybody want to discuss the report itself?
I think I'd like to move that we vote to approve payment to Tim, because it's been over a month,
No, it's not quite.
about a month.
Right, we got it just after the last meeting, so.
Right.
Okay,
Was
is there
that
a
like-
motion to,
To approve
go
payment.
ahead, Jan.
No, I was just wondering if this was an actual motion. Go ahead.
Yes, to approve payment to Tim's invoice,
$2,500.
$2,500.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, let's have a roll call vote then. Barry
Aye.
and Elaine
Aye.
and Carl
aye.
and Janet
Aye.
and June, aye. So it's, payment is approved unanimously, and I can follow up with June Poland.
Mhm.
The next item for the Bullard House is the recent proposal that Carl put together that talks about how ARPA could help us with the restoration costs. And that's dated February 26th. Carl, do you want to speak to your summary and your ARPA funding request document?
Sure. So I have it divided into two parts. And part one is a summarization of all of what we understand to be the necessary restoration tasks, principally derived from Tim's December report, as well as his February of this year supplement. Plus, we put in the architectural services at 15% on the total for $81,735, excuse me. And then the second part of the document addresses the various potential sources of funding, the CPA, which we currently have, the potential for the CPA coming up, and the potential for a mass grant. And then part of that, part two, is again referring to the tasks to be funded. It was basically presented as a shopping list for the select board to pick from. I understand they possibly discussed this on Monday evening. I'm not certain of that, but I think I heard somewhere that they were going to do that. And so it would be up to them to decide what they think they want to fund with the ARPA dollars available. I put this in what I thought was an appropriate order of priority, starting with the architectural services and then going down the line based on how one would do the tasks. In other words, exterior.
You're frozen, Carl.
Painting, what tasks should be done in a reasonable order. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No,
Barry,
I
I didn't.
I was just saying you'd frozen, that's all. We missed a
Yeah.
little of your last sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying that when I put the shopping list together
Mhm.
for the select board to pick from, I put it in an order of how I would see the task being done. In other words, we need the architectural services first, and then at the bottom of the list, for example, is item number 9, which is exterior painting. That would be one of the last tasks you do. So that's how I prioritized it, and they can decide what they want to fund out of the ARPA monies. So if you have any questions, that's basically it.
June, would you like us to call Scott and Peg up to join us to talk about this now?
Yes, I did listen to the select board meeting on Monday evening. And so I have some knowledge of what happened, but for them to talk would be fine.
Just excuse me for 1 minute. I just need to throw a log on the wood stove before it goes out. Hold on, I'll be right back.
June, I don't know if you may not have heard early in the meeting that the power is out on Linden Street, and they're working with power from their generator, and I suspect that the
Oh,
fire is helping to keep them warm right now.
okay. Well, we'll try to make this meeting move right along. I know wood stove issues. When I was working with Barry and Jane Sawyer this afternoon in the curatorial building, all of a sudden I had a little anxiety, thinking that maybe I didn't shut down our own wood stove here at home. So I finished my little task, and then I said, I'll see you in a few minutes. I went home. There was nothing wrong with the wood stove, but you know, I'm an old lady, so I have to double check.
One of the most scary things when you farm and it's spring is, and you guys, oh, they're back. All right, I was gonna say, and you lose your power in your greenhouse. That's like the
Yeah,
worst.
Well,
that was one of their comments, yeah.
I think we're all back, aren't we?
So June, this is Scott, so they promoted me. So you were at the meeting, June, on
Yeah.
Monday. I attempted to sort of get to release some ARPA funds for a variety of projects. The other select board members didn't feel that it is time or appropriate at this moment to release anything yet. And so although we didn't pass anything last night, I don't believe that's on the merits of this particular proposal. So I'd asked for, among others, $60,000 for the historic architect, because I believe and all the ones I was looking at where timeliness is important. And I think the sooner we get the money for the architect, the sooner we can write or you can write the RFP, RFQ for the 100,000 that's already been approved at town meeting, and potentially start preparing for the grants to match the 100,000 you might get at the upcoming town meeting that I believe is CPA funds that's being recommended by the Community Preservation Act, which will go a long way to doing whatever portions of those lists we want. I know it's not all of it. I thought, Carl, the list was about 580, and so that's 300 of the 580. That gets you most chunk of the way.
Yeah. One of the advantages, I think, to just take into consideration, okay, with funding all of the architectural services, would be that once we hire an architect, all right, it would be the first time that would be an all-inclusive approach to identifying what's necessary to be repaired and how to go about it. And the advantage of having that is, even though we may not be able to fund everything today as far as the repairs are concerned, we can then still utilize that package for future procurement documents for tasks that need to be repaired out in the future a bit. So there is some advantage, I think, of getting, if possible, the total architectural services funded and getting a total architectural package that we could have it divided into pieces and then have that readily available when funds become available for a task that we want to do sometime down the road. That's just a thought.
Well, I think I think that it's a good thought, and I think that one of the things about getting a good chunk that's set for the architectural fees means that we don't have to hire an architect saying, well, we want you to design this now, but maybe later we'll do some other things. This way we can say, well, we expect you to be able to be with the project over a period of time.
Right.
And I think that's helpful to us, and it's helpful to a person considering the job.
Or even worse, you have an architect that does this project and then they retire, and you have a different architect with a different philosophy come in and architect the next part of it, and then you have you have a bunch of mess.
And with time, it doesn't get cheaper.
Right.
You know, if we want to do a different architect a year or two from now, it's not going to be cheaper. So that's another way of looking at it.
I imagine the ARPA topics will be a topic at select board meetings for a bit as we sort of navigate our way. I mean, it's one of those, it didn't come with a lot of sort of restrictions or guidance. There is probably a decent argument to be made to wait. There's a decent argument to be made to release some of it now. And you know, whether or not we use it for things that could be free cash or stabilization to let those fill up more, or use it for things that couldn't be done in, I mean, there's a lot of different opinions out there. And I think that there's an attempt to see if the more consensus can be made before we start spending a chunk of money. Although we've already spent some of the money. I mean, the early on, we spent some of it to agree to expand the Council on Aging hours, to double the hours so that there can be more be done to help seniors in town during the pandemic. And I think we've agreed to keep using that funding through fiscal year 25 or something like that.
So Scott, just so you're aware, I distributed to the commission members here, as well as Margaret, a draft statement of work for an RFP for the architectural services. And the only reason I'm bringing that up, the approach was to be all inclusive. You know, one package for the whole McGiller, if you will. So I don't know if you'd like me to send you a copy of that.
Yeah, if you could send me that and that February 26th email that lays out sort of all the funding for the package. Because the other thing I know the select board wants to work on is cleaning up the list of ARPA requests to make sure we don't have duplications.
Right.
And between some of my requests for the Bullard House and some of your requests for the Bullard House and some other people who put some other things in, I think it would be easier to just try to clean that up to make sure that, one, there's not duplicates, but two, something doesn't get missed.
Yeah, I did address that. I did address that in the document.
Good.
Scott, I sent you Carl's latest summary and ARPA request.
Okay.
Yesterday or.
Could be. I searched by Carl's email, not yours. So let me search by your email.
Well, he can send it to you too.
I was saying it's not a big deal.
No, I found it, June.
We'll distribute it.
You found it? Okay.
Yep.
I sent what I sent you was the minute, even though the minutes weren't approved, I sent them to you so you would see the two motions we made, the 82K for architectural services and the 163 to cover the understructure recommendations. And then I sent you Carl's February 26th summary with the ARPA. And then there's a note on the third page that addresses the duplication.
Yep. Okay, I have it. So it'll help me with the select board to clean up to make sure that that the full amount is
that sufficient? Is that sufficient now? Because I promised to get back to them to the select board by March 10th, which is tomorrow. But everything is included in that, in the February 26th document.
Yep. I'll reach out to Margaret, but I think it should be enough.
Okay.
Between the minutes and the document, that's actually very detailed. Bummed I missed it earlier.
Okay. Let's see. Did we have any discussion of the February 26th summary and funding request by commission members? Is there any questions about that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay. Carl sent us right after February 26th, or on that day, a document entitled Bullard House Restoration Summary and ARPA Funding Request. And it's 4 pages. The first page, well, yeah, he just described it, actually.
Okay.
Part 1 are the cost estimates for all the tasks with some notes. And then the second part is how we get the money with our 3 our ARPA money, our grant money, and our CPA money, and how that's all integrated. And then, I'm sorry, it's not the third page is the ARPA request. And then the fourth page is some notes that address the duplication that we might want to straighten out.
Oh.
Do you have that, Barry?
I think I had it. I haven't gone through all of that. At some point, I looked at it a bit and then I went off to other things, and I don't think I ever went back and finished going through the rest of the pages.
June,
I
I
will have
thought,
to, I'll have to dig that out.
I thought
some
that,
time to
Okay,
that
you
this
have any
was oh, I'm sorry.
Janet, you have any
Yeah,
questions?
I
about
think
that?
that we've got a delay or something, because I keep cutting
Yeah,
in,
I
and I'm not
know.
really cutting in. But I was just gonna say to Carl, I found this one really helpful. For me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, for me, when I see all of these numbers together, even though I don't expect you to do that every single time you want to add some small piece, but it really helped me to understand what all these numbers mean. And it may be just my weak area, or it may be because I haven't been with this commission very long that I'm not as familiar with some of it. But anyway, thank you for doing that. I did
You're
think that
welcome.
was a nice way of doing it.
I have mentioned on prior occasions that this whole process has a lot of moving parts to it. And the objective of putting this 4-page document together was to get all the moving parts on one piece of paper. Actually 4 sheets, but that's the idea, because there are so many aspects of it, particularly from the funding point of view. So that was the objective, as well as identifying for the select board a shopping list of opera tasks to be funded.
Okay. We just received also yesterday a draft that Carl put together. It's a draft to request architecturals, request for proposals for architectural services for the Bullard House. Has everyone had a chance to look at that?
We have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did also.
Well, I did it very superficially because yesterday was a very busy day. and today I did my best today to go through it, but my
So as I identified,
efforts were pretty.
I'm sorry. I was just
Go
going to say, as I summarized in the email, I used Tim Mulheater's December report, excuse me, and the February supplement. I also obtained from Evie at Barry's suggestion a copy of the architectural RFP that was used at the 1870 town hall. So I use that as a model for putting this document together. And feel free to say that I did some plagiarization, but I think that's all right, because this is a document owned by the town. So, but there's a lot of stuff up front, again, outlining the tasks that we expect and what we want the architect to look at. And then all the formats with respect to the RFP. I also pointed out that, Margaret hasn't had an opportunity to look at this, and she certainly needs to do that at some point, particularly with respect to the procurement requirements. The document that I used as the model, the one from the town hall, 1870 town hall, was dated 2014. So it was a good possibility that, changes have been made. I cited the same laws that were in that document. Maybe there's changes to them, but that's something out of my realm. And again, Margaret needs to look at those sort of things. And of course, any other suggestions she would have. And the only other comment was, I noticed that in the past, the minutes distributes documents that are presented at the meetings, and that's fine. I'm certainly not objecting to that. I don't recommend that this draft document be distributed with the minutes, simply on the
Okay.
basis that once it's finalized, it'll form the basis for a request for a proposal. And if it gets out in the public domain prior to the release of the formal RFP, if we go that far, it could potentially jeopardize the integrity of the procurement if somebody got a copy of it in advance of other potential bidders. So I would say that I would recommend that it not be distributed with the minutes.
Well, at the present time, it's in draft form for the commission's consideration, and when the commission's ready to act on it, it'll become part of the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Is it
understand.
part of the record?
Right, we understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we understand that.
When we're ready to put it out, then it'll be part of our
Right.
record.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
As you just
there's no
said.
disagreement there. You're great.
Thank you, Carl, for putting the draft together.
You're welcome.
Did the consultant was Dan Barton, who's from Mogul Architects? Do you
I heard
know?
that name. I didn't see that specifically on the document I was given. I guess that's perhaps the case, but I don't really know. I didn't see that
Okay.
name, as I recall, on the document that I was given from Evie. But I heard that name, so that's a
Okay.
possibility. I just don't know.
Well, that's who, I mean, I was sitting with that committee at the time, and that was who had done the conceptual work on the whole project up to that time, and so I'm quite sure that's who the consultant was referring to.
Yeah, I did say in my email, I forgot to mention that
Yeah.
we might want to consider at some point, hiring them for a few hours to go through this. Something we can discuss with Margaret, and get her opinion on it as well.
It's an extensive document. It
Yeah,
must have
it's-
taken you a long time.
Well, I agreed to this
It is.
sometime early February. It took me a month and a half. Yeah, I guess it's about 13 or 14 pages plus the
Yeah.
attachments.
Thank you
Okay.
for doing it.
Any other questions related to the draft for the architectural services? Okay.
Uh,
I just wanted to
oh,
bring up.
I do have one thing I wanted to say about it. I think that
Okay,
along with this, we should also include
Yeah.
National Register documents for the house.
Excuse me,
Um,
Barry, you froze when you were talking. Would you start
Oh,
again,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Yeah.
I think we should include National Register documents for the house. We can look at the documents and decide which ones, but I think that an architect should have that information in terms of how they are looking at the whole project, and in terms of what the criteria were under which it was accepted to the National Register.
Yeah, I would agree.
Those are considerations that they should have in mind about it.
okay. That's a good suggestion. There's one other little thing that's related to the Bullard House, and that is, even though the Bullard House is not able to be used, I think there's an opportunity to do some programming that relates to what happened over time at the house. We could, I think it's brought to mind some of the history that's included in that National Register document that could be arranged for an interactive program. And I think Janet is interested in that also.
June,
So I just
think
wanted to bring that up.
I was going to
I
add
wanted to
that
bring it
that-
up as a way to promote interest in the house, even though we can't use it.
That
So
was,
we're gonna.
I ditto
think
that
Jan and I
point.
are interested in, yeah, we're working, we will work on that and would value any input from any of you. You know, your ideas and how we might accomplish that. I have a couple of ideas, but they're not in good form to discuss tonight.
It doesn't hurt to get
Barry,
things
do you have
out
any-
there and to have people know we're already getting excited about doing things with the Bullard House. And I don't think
That's
that
right.
hurts. Make it seem like it's already alive and well.
Yeah, the Historical
Barry, do you-
Society, the Historical Society Board met last night, and one of the things that we were talking about was programming. Most of our meeting was really spent talking about brainstorming ideas for programming and activities and stuff. And with at least a loosening of the pandemic for the present, that we really thought we should try to work on a couple of programs and perhaps some small programs that we could present to people, even daytime things. This certainly is this subject is one that we could include in that. We welcome the idea of trying to do some programming, working with the public and getting people back into the idea of with the people to talk to about history. And involving other people that could also do things. Everything doesn't have to be a great big program with 100 people there, but the idea that we could offer different things and see what takes, what gets some interest and starts to move ahead with some of these things. And it really also relates to what Dave was saying earlier about getting the general public interested in the project, in the Hearst House and the Bullard House and so on. So the Historical Society is looking for things to do for program and would be supportive of things that we might, that the commission might suggest too.
Good, that's good. Barry, do you have any updates on that you'd like to talk about from the curatorial aspect of things? Because we have done some work every Wednesday and.
Oh, and some other times in between a little bit too. I
Yep.
just, one of the things we were doing today was about half a dozen newspapers, no, it's 24 newspapers maybe, that we had that were given in like 1965, and they've been in an envelope in a file someplace. And every so often we'd see them, but after the work that June and I did this winter on our big pile of newspapers, mostly from the late 19th century and first decade of the 20th, it was really great to pull these out and assign numbers to them and put them in the list and then file them in with those other papers that we worked on before. I mean, there's something that we've had sitting there for a long time, but suddenly we now, because of what we did earlier this year, we were able to integrate those quickly and easily. And now if somebody goes looking in the newspapers, they can find those just as much as the others that we worked on before. That work put us structured enough so that we could deal with newspapers of that period quite easily. And that was good. And we've got a couple other things going. We've got we are making a proposal to buy more boxes. And we've been working on that with Edith Brewer and the of the custodial committee, and we will, gosh, oh gosh. I don't know what kind of a figure to put on it, but I mean, I'm assuming the commission, we budgeted and hopefully we've got, you know, up toward $500 that we might use on some of these materials. But I don't have a number yet to say how much we're gonna order, so I can't quite say, please approve this much. Is there any thought in the commission that it's all right for us to work on an order and get it out there, and hopefully the commission will approve the bill when it comes in?
Well, our budget definitely designates a potential $500 for archival supplies, so.
Yeah.
And we need them, and I think we've used pretty much everything we've had and more, that I have provided too.
Yeah.
So,
We have, I mean, there's some things that we need quite a bit, mostly smaller boxes. We've still got, well, we wanted to get a few big garment boxes, just a few. But we wanted to get some middle-sized boxes. We had a bunch of those before. We've used them up and we need to get some more of those. We also do have more document boxes for document files. We have a pretty good amount of those still on hand, and we've had them for quite a while. But some of the intermediate boxes and sleeves for photos and that kind of thing, we've still got loads of things in the files that haven't been photos that haven't been sleeved and so forth, and it would really be good for them to be better protected. So we'll continue to work on that and apprise you further of what we conclude on it for the present.
yeah, we unfortunately our volunteer that we had, Francesco Buccella, he decided that he really needed to look for a paid position and wasn't going to be able to volunteer. He was a really well-trained
Professional
individual, and yeah, so we lost an opportunity there, but we did our best to encourage him, and I think he enjoyed looking at some of the things in the collection. And if we have a program, I'll definitely invite him to come and visit with us. I don't know if people are aware that Jane Sawyer has come on Wednesday afternoons to help. Did we mention that last time?
No.
Yeah, she's
No.
really getting to be a regular.
Yeah. She's a good volunteer. Really appreciate her help.
That's nice.
And also Bob Blair came last week to volunteer, but we were all in the middle of looking. I forget what we were doing, but we were busy, and so we all were part of everybody's discussions. And then we went over to look at some things that were in the town hall. So hopefully Bob will come back.
Yeah, he's interested in doing a project. One of the things that really came out of our meetings with Francesco is that we had to start looking for projects that, you know, okay, here's a project he could do. And of course, being a trained person, there were a lot of things we could give him to do that we couldn't give some other people to do. But it was good for us because we actually did start to carve out, well, gee, we could work on this, or we could work on this, or we could do this in this file. And that was good, and it was instructive. And I also was really looking forward to having him help us figure out how to organize some of the material, particularly some of the miscellaneous material that just doesn't automatically fall into addresses of buildings and family names and basic town stuff. How do you deal with a lot of the other miscellaneous material to file it so that you can find it and have a sense of where it would be in the collection? So that was, there were a number of different things that came up in the discussions with him that were good for us, just thinking in terms of organization ourselves.
Okay, I did speak to Leanne Leahy, who is in the inspector's
Mhm.
office, and she was nice enough to look over the permits, and there were no permits that dealt with demolition.
Yeah.
But you might want to follow that up, Barry, next week.
I've been trying to remember to go see her on the correct day. I always think of it on the wrong day. And in fact, I did the same
Yeah,
thing this week. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get back with her again and try to get squared away so things work the way they were working before my computer failure.
Okay. It's Monday and Wednesday,
Yeah,
and she's there pretty early.
yeah, Monday and Wednesday
But then
morning.
she done by 1 o'clock, she's done. So.
Yeah.
But she's very, very, very helpful.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Is there any other business?
June, I'd just like to thank you for the thank you note that you sent Elaine and I regarding our call for a special meeting at the Historical Society. So thank you for doing
Oh,
that.
to get the
Appreciate it.
first house. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
you're welcome. I hope I thanked everybody that that was out there that day. I didn't get an official list from Dave, so maybe
this
I'll
is-
send him a little message and make sure I did thank everybody that was involved that day. Well, if there's no other business, we can have a motion to adjourn.
There is one other thing I'd like to say at the moment.
Okay,
It's with deep regret that we're informing the commission that both Colin and I hereby resign from the Historical Commission for personal reasons, and will give written notice to the town clerk by Friday. And unfortunately, this will also remove me from the CPA committee, and I will do likewise for that.
So we appreciate the opportunity. It's been a pleasure working with you all. We wish you the best of luck, both personally and with the Bullard House.
is there anything we might do to dissuade you?
I think we've reached the conclusion we had to reach, June.
Okay. Well, I regret that because because your expertise has been a little hard sometimes to for us to embrace, but it's been work that we have been unable to do on our own. So it's a loss.
I think you probably know that it's going to leave a great big hole here, especially for newcomers like me who kind of depend on you guys.
It's certainly not our intention to create a problem. It's just something that we had to do personally.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
Carl did.
All those in favor, Barry
Aye.
and Elaine
Aye.
and Carl
Aye.
and Janet
Aye.
and June, aye. Motion to adjourn unanimously approved.